Hi everyone, this is Mari Craig, and you're listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show, a podcast where we discuss how we can achieve more wellness in our lives one small step at a time. For the past 6 odd years, I've taken a special interest in nutrition and I've changed the diet of my family on its head. But as I've dived deeper into the world of nutrition, I have learned that health is so much more than just what we put on our plate. This is why on this podcast we will be talking nutrition, mental health, being in alignment, holistic health care, self care, raising children, and more. We will also be hearing stories of women's journeys to overcome trauma and what it has taught them on the way. When we share our stories, we realize we are not alone and that things can change for the better. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey as I explore what health and wellness truly encompass. If you like what you're hearing, please consider rating the show with a 5-star rating and sharing it with your friends. It really makes a big difference. Now, on with today's show.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we are discussing how we can achieve wellness in our lives one small step at a time. Today, I am joined by Sarah Hunt. She is a super hardworking PE to an MD during the day, but then she's also a mum to two young girls of the ages of 6 and 8, so quite close to my children. And the eldest has special needs, which is a chromosome disorder. Sarah is originally from Australia, but she's been in the UK coming up to 18 years. That's even longer than me. And she was supposed to come over just on a 1-year career break. I think my plan was 2 years, and here we are 14 years later. Sarah has worked so incredibly hard on herself in the last few years to keep a good balance of health and fitness and self-care, but she also knows how to have fun, going out with friends and enjoying herself and living life to the full. I can certainly attest to that. Hi, Sarah.
Yeah, no, it's all about balance, and I need that for my own sanity. So
yeah, exactly. It's good to kind of let loose a few, now and then, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Just to have a blowout and just walk away and think, oh, that was such an amazing night and such an awesome catch up with my friends, and just feel a whole new lease of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is what it's about, finding balance. So thank you so much for being on today, because I asked you ages ago, like, oh, I really want to talk to you because you are, I think, to a lot of people, a very inspiring person, and it seems to, you're just like doing your workouts and doing your healthy eating, but it doesn't all come. It doesn't all come easily. So I just wanted to hear your story. But first of all, you grew up in Australia, and to me, that's like, I've been once, right? And I just saw all these people looking so fit and healthy. What was life? What was that important to you growing up, or what was your upbringing in Australia like?
Yeah, no, it was obviously amazing, and you don't really, fully appreciate it until you come over to dreary England. But no, it was beach holidays, and days off from school if it was over 40 degrees.
Awesome.
But it was great. I don't think there was so much of an emphasis on healthy eating as there is now. It is such a talk of the town sort of topic now, with plant-based eating, adding in kombucha and kefir, into your diet, exercising and all of that. I think it was probably over here as well and all over the world, things have changed, and childhood, back then was a lot easier. No social media, no keeping up with the Joneses, or keeping up with the latest fad. It was a great childhood, and I couldn't have asked for more.
No, it sounds amazing. Yeah. So, but you said about the weather coming over to England, that must have been a shock. So what happened then? You came over on a 1-year career break, and then here we are.
Well, so I came over on a 1-year career break. I had the 2-year working visa, but I told my company, that I'll take the first 12 months as a career break, and then, obviously if things change, phone them up, and things did. I was like, no, I'm going to stay the other year of my visa. So threw my job in, and then literally a month before my 2-year working visa ran out, I met my now husband, who I've recently separated from. But that was 15 years ago. And then the only way that I could stay in the country was if my company sponsored me, or if if he proposed. And I don't think he would have proposed after a month of knowing him. So I went home. Well, my company tried to sponsor me, and that didn't go through. So then I had to go back to Australia, and then I spent, basically all the next month or whatever, trying to apply for a student visa, which was, another route that I could come back on. So did that, and I think, my visa expired in the November, and I think I was back by the February or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
No time wasted.
But that's the thing, you just never know what's around the corner, and you don't know where your life's going to take you. I never thought that I'd be living here, on the other side of the world. I only knew I ever wanted to travel. That was my sort of dream and goal.
Yeah.
And everyone, as I was getting older, was saying, well, you base yourself in England and then you travel to Europe from there, and you can have long weekends, or just literally a week, and in a completely different country, climate, cuisine, culture, everything. Whereas in Australia, you travel 5 hours on a plane, and it's exactly the same from one side to the east to the west, and it's the same. So yeah, it's completely different, and it's an experience. I would say to anyone, you have to do and tick off in your history book.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you do it then? Did you actually travel, or did you?
Yeah, so I just did like long weekends. I was working in a bar 4 nights a week and working full time. So yeah, I would just save and head off for a long weekend to France or Germany or Spain or Sweden.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Not Norway.
No, never been there.
Awful.
Yeah.
But that's so interesting. There's so many of us. I mean, I was supposed to go for 2 years maximum, and then met my now husband, got the house, got the kids, got the and here we are. Kind of, I think we're now into 14 years later, something like that, and the plan was never to live abroad.
No.
Just for
So
short
where did you meet Daniel then?
Well, we worked together in London.
Okay.
Yeah, and
so did you know him for a while then before you sort of got together?
Maybe a bit longer than a month before. Yeah.
And how long had you been over here?
I think I'd been over for a year and a half or so. Yeah.
Oh,
And I was
so you had a good stint of like single life and
a little bit. Yeah. And so and here we are, and it's just living in rural England, as it were, and it's just interesting how things happen, how things unfold if you're kind of open to new experiences.
Yeah. It's all about being open-minded, isn't it? And just sort of taking life where it takes you, going with the flow.
And it's interesting because obviously you said now that you're newly separated, and obviously that has its own challenges, and we'll come on to that. But I guess if you hadn't met, none of these other amazing things would have happened.
No, and that's the thing, we've had an amazing 15 years, there's been lots of ups and downs, but there's also been lots of fantastic memories, and that's formed who I am today.
Yeah, exactly. So there's always some gratefulness that can come from all of that.
Yeah, 100%. You can't live with regrets, can you? Or resentment. No. You've just got to take your experiences and what you've learned, and move on and grow and develop from that.
Yeah, I love that attitude. Now, when I introduced you, I said that you've got 2 children. So I think your youngest is nearly born the same time as my youngest, and but your eldest, she has a chromosome disorder. How did you find out about that, and what's it like? Because obviously you got the youngest sibling also that needs your attention, but I can imagine that the oldest needs extra attention.
And she does take a lot of my time and energy. So she was born in 2013. She's going to be 9 on the 1st of August, but mentally she's obviously not a 9-year-old. So she was born with hip dysplasia. We found out that, basically they're born, they have the nurse come round, do some checks, and she was like, her hips are a little bit loose, come back in a month. It may sort of, develop into nothing. So we went back up when she was a month old, and then basically walked out with a baby in a Pavlik harness, which is like those, Velcro sort of, bodysuits. And she was in that for 3 months, so couldn't have a bath or anything, so it was a sponge bath. She was in it for 24/7, and then her hips corrected, so she stayed in them for stayed in the pelvic harness for another 2 weeks, sorry. And then we went to Australia in the Christmas, came back, had a 6-month check when she was 6 months old, and the right one had regressed. And so then she basically had to have a hip operation when she was 1.5, which didn't work. So then she's just recently had to have another one in 2020. And yeah, fingers crossed, that's looking like it's in place and it's all, going well. But yeah, so it's funny actually, because the hospital that she had that was seeing her for the hip dysplasia now have changed the rules from her to be a month in the pelvic harness after a good scan, because she was only in it 2 weeks more. It wasn't enough time to fully, solidify it. So the baby's now staying another month. So she was almost like a guinea pig, which is great, obviously, that they've sort of found that and changed the rules. But yeah, she was also born with fluid on the kidneys, which is hydronephrosis. So she was on antibiotics, from the day she was born to clear that. Then she also had right torticollis, which I basically diagnosed myself because her head was tilted like that to the right the whole time. And then I just, found that it's called right torticollis. You can get right or left, which is just a tight muscle. So she had to have physio for that at home. We'd get exercises to, put her over one of those big gym balls, and sort of try and help her to strengthen that. She was seeing a physio to correct her feet after she came out of the harness and the hip spiker and the plaster and everything. So she's constantly, been in and out sort of hospital. Nothing like a child that's got a serious illness or condition, but she's had it tough basically. And then after her first operation, when she was 1.5, and I think she was 2, the pediatrician said, okay, well, she should be talking and starting to walk now. Let's just do a blood test just to make sure everything is as it should be. And then it came out that she had a chromosome disorder. So she's got an extra copy on her 16th chromosome. So you inherit 23 chromosomes from each parent, and on her 16th one, she's got an extra copy. So it's called microduplication 16p11.2. And you can either get a duplication or a deletion, and she's got a duplication. And then they said, okay, well, we test the parents now as well. Genetic testing has been around for 10 years. We just would like to see if either the mother or father are a carrier. So we both got, well, I had my blood test done first, and then the results came back as positive that I was the carrier. So we were sort of 100% sure that it was going to be Graham. He's a lot weirder than I am, and, just a fickle character. And he was even like, yeah, definitely me. But then his test, he didn't have his tests done because mine had already come back. So we still say if they went through with it, there'd be something there. Anyway, so yeah, after having a 24-hour meltdown of, oh my goodness, I've had special needs all my life, I came to terms with it, and then realised, well, my friends say, you're unaffected-ish, Sarah, but, I am unaffected. So from one person to the next, it can manifest in so many different ways. So, yeah, found out when she was 3.5. Then she was obviously starting school in this September. And, she wasn't toilet trained or, walking, well, just walking, and, very limited speech as well. So she's had speech therapy, educational psychologists, occupational therapists, osteopaths, like, everything that a school, can provide. And then she was given a educational healthcare plan as well. So she was granted 15 hours a week for one-to-one sort of supervision and extra attention. And then that was in reception. And then going into year 1, they said, you know, the gap's only going to get wider. She's going to start to realize that, you know, she's falling behind and that she's not the same. Have you thought about a special needs school? And obviously I knew that conversation was coming, but still was like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
after a 3-hour EHCP review, you know, it was sort of the last thing they said. So then, found us a fantastic school for her to start in the September. So they mentioned this to me in the June. We obviously break up in the July. And then they wanted me to find a school for her to start in the September. So obviously, you know, that was a challenge for me. And, you know, if I'm given a task, I have to, you know, focus and achieve it. And then, found a brilliant school that she's now in up until she leaves. So,
Oh,
it's great because I don't have to worry about that bullying side of it. Well, obviously, you know, they could still bully each other.
yeah.
But they're more like family. You know, she loves school. She loves going. There's 10 in her class. She gets that attention to grow. And she's doing brilliantly.
Oh, fantastic.
But yes, the challenges at home, you know, it is all consuming. And it is draining, you know, with her constant repetitiveness and constant need for reassurance. She also attacks, you know, if she's feeling anxious or frustrated. So, you know, her sister and I constantly scratched, pinched, bitten, hair pulled daily. You know, Natalie, her sister's had that every single day since the day she was born, even as a baby. But then as Natalie got older, you know, she learned to fight back.
But they love each other though. From what I see of them, there's a lot of love going on between them. Yeah,
they do. Yeah, but you know, sometimes I just let Natalie go for it.
Yeah.
I just think, you know, Emily deserves it.
Oh, it's so tricky to find a balance, isn't it? But like, listen, in the middle of all of this is a lot to take on for anyone. And I think if it was me, I probably would have had a few meltdowns in between and thinking, how on earth am I supposed to do all this? Are you working in the middle of all of this as well, holding down a job?
Yeah, so I was working part-time when the girls were young.
Yeah.
And then but then I was also working 4 nights a week in a bar. You know, and Graham was sort of doing the night routine and taking over, you know, which was fantastic. Him being a roofer, you know, he didn't have an office job where he needed to be in the office till 6 o'clock or whatever. He'd get home at 5 and then I'd head off to the pub. So it was good because he learnt to, you know, sort of deal with all the stuff that it would normally fall to, you know, the mum or the woman. So, you know, he did a lot, you know, in those days, which, yes, obviously gave me that space and that escapism. And I loved working in the pub just to talk to people, have adult conversations. But yeah, I was working as a sort of secretary part-time during the day. So yeah, it's full on.
Yeah, I'm just sat there thinking, like, how do you fit it all in? I mean,
so obviously working full time now.
Yeah.
But you know, with babysitters, childminders, flexibility from my boss and empathy is priceless.
Yeah.
You know, I would not be able to cope if I didn't have that. So you know, I'm really appreciative to him and thank him all the time. But he knows I work hard, you know, and make up for it as well. So you know, for the last 2.5 years, I've been logging on most evenings, you know, just to get work done. So, yeah.
Wow. So for a lot of people listening here, there might, and because I know you as a very fit and healthy person, you look after yourself and you I don't know how, you must have a longer day than 24 hours in my mind, but it's just, but I think a lot of people would be in your situation probably and go, I can't do anything, but you started making some changes to feel better about yourself. Was it back in 2019?
Yes.
What made you look at that then?
Yeah. So 5 years ago, 2017, someone introduced me to a protein shake, you know, plant-based one, all natural. And, you know, obviously you're skeptical in the beginning and you're like, well, how is this one different to, you know, another one that I've tried? And so not being a breakfast person, I was like, this is probably perfect for me. It's a complete meal, you know, in one. It can set me up for the day. So I started taking those, and I think that's where I sort of started my, you know, transformation and the journey to to be a healthier and fitter person. So I started working out. I think as the kids get older as well, you can focus more on yourself.
Yeah.
They were having the shakes as well, and then from that, because obviously it's a a company that sell those shakes, I then was notified about the whole food capsules that come with as another product. And then went to a salad in a jar party, which is where sounds like salad in a jar party.
I've had those. They're brilliant.
Yeah, no, they are. But it's not like a normal, party.
No, it's no. You can have champagne, but it's
it's good fun, and it's really inspiring. And you take a salad bowl along, and then everyone else has brought theirs, and they just layer them, and you've got like 5 jars for the week. And then was told about these whole food capsules, so I thought, okay, well, I'll give these a go. I love the shakes. I've had a couple of people sort of be interested in them, so I'll join the business. And for me, it was all about that escapism. It wasn't work, full-time work. It wasn't the kids. It was something for me, something to get my teeth stuck into, to feel passionate about, to be inspired by, to meet a whole fantastic community and group of people that are on the same sort of page as me. And it's just a whole sort of growth and development that comes with it as well as the health benefits. I feel I've become more confident, happier in my own skin, and just so many changes as well. You're constantly seeing them that you don't think, oh, hang on, the heels on my feet, I used to have hard skin, but the whole food capsules, these extra fruits and vegetables that are going into my body, have just sort of made my skin more supple and changed so many things.
And that must make a difference for you, because I'm curious also if you think now in hindsight there was something else that made me make that change, but maybe it was just as random as I like the protein shake. I got curious because I would imagine that you have a very full-on day, and I was going to ask you this, what a normal day looks like for you, because before, so if you've gone through this transformation, your normal day, I would have thought, must be slightly easier to get through, seeing as you're feeling better in yourself, etc. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it's all about knowing that you're taking these products that are helping you feel better and clean up your insides, that you're like, well, okay, I need to balance that out with being fitter, so working on the exercise side of things, but also changing what you eat. So we do these 10-day cleanses as well, and I've done one recently, and literally the amount of energy you get from cleansing your insides and resetting your body, it just gives you a whole different level of energy. So it's making those changes, those daily habits become better. And so the energy, my hair never used to look like this. It wouldn't grow past a certain point. My skin's more supple. These omega capsules as well that I take, which are completely natural. I feel like my eyes, the color of my eyes have changed as well. No one used to comment on my eyes, but since I've been taking those, which was the beginning of lockdown, everyone's like, "Wow, you've got beautiful eyes, haven't you?" And I'm like, "Really?" And I don't know if it's just because my youngest has got stunning eyes. But yeah, it's just lifted the complexion of my skin. I was looking at a photo the other day and I just looked so drab and dull. But yeah, it smooths the appearance of wrinkles.
Do you think sometimes
feeling energized, sleep as well?
Yeah,
I sleep like a log.
Oh, that's amazing. But I was just going to say, like, all of these things, like, do you not think also there's part of it is just like knowing you're doing something that is just for you?
Yeah.
That is almost like half the battle won.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I also think with, I used to be so tired. I remember being in the car driving with the kids in the back on the shortest of journeys, And like I'd be, you know, driving, trying to keep my eyes open, and I'd have to have one eye shut. You know, I was so tired and lethargic and, you know, energyless all the time. And so I know that since I've started taking these products, that there's been a complete, you know, shift. And I just often wonder, you know, where I would be today and who I would be today. You know, I've lost 10 kilos.
Wow.
From...
Oh, I'm so glad to hear you're working in kilos as well. I have no idea what people...
Don't ask me what that is in pounds. Actually,
no,
no,
I have no idea.
No, my online personal trainer told me that it's well, because I've only just got to the 10 kilo mark. So before that, it was 22 pounds, nearly 10 kilos. So whatever that is.
Yeah, exactly. I know my children's birth weight in pounds. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else.
I was just working like, you know, a kilo bag of apples from the fruit store.
Yes, exactly. I work in butters. So one pack of butter is 250 grams. So 4 of those, you've got a kilo.
Oh,
yeah, see, good. So there's ways of getting around this imperial way of measuring.
And then actually Mark, the my online personal trainer, did say, now go and lift up a 10 kilo kettlebell, and that's how much weight I've lost. And it was like, wow, yeah. I don't even know if I, you know, could lift that for very long. So
that's incredible.
But I didn't feel massively overweight, but you know, I didn't. Yeah, every summer, as summer was approaching, I'd be like, this is the summer I'm going to look fantastic in a bikini. But I just didn't have the energy to, you know, or the mindset to do it. But I think just having these extra, you know, fruits and vegetables added to my diet, which is bridging that gap of like, you know, being a busy working mum and not having the time to provide my kids with all, you know, 5 portions, or, you know, well, it's like 7 to 10 now, isn't it, a day. So, and also Emily, who is the eldest with special needs, every winter for 6 years of her life, she would have a cold all winter. You know, the runniest of noses, constantly having to blow that and wipe it. And then coughing, a constant cough that would make her throw up, you know. And so Graham and I were like, you know, always having to get something underneath, and he wouldn't. He'd be like, just let it go. And I'm like, you're not the one that has to clean up the mess afterwards. I'm trying to eliminate as much mess as possible. You know, and then I got her on the children's version of the sort of the capsules that, you know, I take, but they come in a like chewable format. And literally that first winter, not one symptom.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that must make a difference, because I mean, because how do you actually fit it all into your normal life as it is? You know, that's what I would like. Now, when does your day start and end? And then on top of that, you got the special needs, and you got top of that, you got all the coughs and colds and everything. I mean, being able to remove some of those things from the equation must just be amazing, right?
Yeah, well, I can't remove them. They're there, aren't they? You know, they have to get done. Other than, you know, the coughs and colds, that was, you know, one
that's
thing.
What I mean. So if you remove those from the equation, then you got less things, because your day is full on as it is.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, you know, that's one less thing to worry about. You know, worrying about how much fruit and veg they're getting into their diet, you know, by taking the chewables, that's one less thing. So yeah, anything that one less thing is a benefit. 100%.
Oh, fantastic. What would you say then because first of all, when does your day start and end? Because I can imagine that this is just, I mean, I don't understand. I still don't understand. So you're working now full time, yeah?
Yes, yeah, full time.
And you recently separated. So this does mean you do all of it?
Yes, yeah, I do. But I also felt like I did, you know, probably 80% of it before anyway.
Got it.
But I wasn't as happy as I knew I could be. And obviously, you know, the challenges of having a child with special needs is, you know, a lot of pressure on parents, and the highest divorce rates come from, you know, parents with children with special needs. And so there was always that challenge, you know, in our relationship. But we just had to suck it up, and that was the hand we were dealt, you know, and just had to deal with it. But my husband, not being the most patient and tolerable person in the world, you know, Emily just literally knows what buttons to push, and, you know, and yeah, he just sort of couldn't cope, but would always look to me to sort of, you know, sort the problem out. So then I felt like there was even more pressure, you know, and I didn't really have as much support as I felt like I should have or I needed. So yeah, I don't like saying that I'm a single parent, because that just sort of highlights that I've got, one role that I have to handle, single-handedly. But I feel like, and someone put this up on Facebook a few years back when she, went through a breakup, and it was this post about being a double parent. You're fulfilling two roles, so he has the kids one night a week, but for 6 nights of the week, it's all on me. So I've just got to be organized. I've got to meal plan. I've got to use my diary, my reminders. I can't rely on my memory as much anymore, but that's fading rapidly with post 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, and having like my boss, even though I'm PA to the MD, we have a running joke that he's more like my PA and has to sort of sort me out. So the other day, Emily had a doctor's appointment in Basingstoke, and normally the letters come through saying optic, for her eye, and that's where she goes in Basingstoke for her eyes, at Southampton for her hip. But because it said pediatric, I was like, oh, maybe she's having something done for her hip, in Basingstoke. So I got there, and Emily was, sort of anxious and crying, and I don't want to have an X-ray, and hates it, even though it doesn't hurt. And then, got there, and it turned out that it was an eye appointment, and she had to have eye drops, and she hates those eye drops. So she was like screaming the hospital down. Anyway, I told my boss, I know it wasn't a hip check, it was an eye appointment. He's like, okay, next time you get a doctor's appointment through, we'll make sure we've got the right date, time, child, and body part.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the PA's role, isn't it?
It knows me, I'm obviously a PA, but I can organise everyone else but myself. So you say that, and you've said this before, you're so organised. It's like, I'm actually not. I literally, deal with things just before they're about to happen. So I can't focus too far in advance. It would be like for the next day, or the next week.
Yeah.
So it's just not putting too much pressure on myself to worry about things that sort of don't need the focus at that moment.
Yeah, maybe that's the key.
Yeah, I think it is. And I was thinking about that this morning, and I was thinking that is all it's about for me. So I remember once someone said to me, "Oh, so where are you flying from and what time?" And I was like, "Oh, Gatwick in the evening sometime." And I literally looked the night before as I was packing, and it was Heathrow, and it was a morning flight. But that's because I didn't need to worry about that until it was the next thing that was coming up. So yeah, I don't know whether that will work for everyone, but it works for me.
Yeah, but it's about what you do to stay sane, because when there's a lot going on, you could easily just kind of go under and go, I cannot cope.
And just feel totally overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then just unproductive and not getting anything done because you just don't know where to start. So I just have to sort of chip away at things as and when they come up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you to sort of wrap up. I think a lot of people that I speak to as well, because we are affiliated with the same company, so my children have been using the chewies as well. One has now moved out to the capsules, and it's been the same. I actually was the same as your daughter, had all of these winter colds, and I haven't had them since I started.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I started because when you've just given birth to a baby and you go your winter cold, and anyone with a pelvic floor inside a baby knows that having a cold, coughing and sneezing post baby is not ideal. So
no. And you didn't do your pelvic floors like me then either, did you?
Oh, I was pretty rubbish at it. Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, we live and learn, right? But
100%.
If I can imagine a lot of people would say, oh, no, I get it. I don't have time. I don't have energy. I don't have money. I don't know where to start. My children take up so much of my time. I work too much, blah, blah. Like, what do you say to that? Or did you used to say these things? And what made the switch in your mind?
Yeah, no, definitely. It was like my day's completely full. How am I going to fit, another thing in? This is, like joining my sideline business. But you make time for the things that matter to you. And then if you can't, that's why you have to sort of join something or become, part of something that fits in with your lifestyle and your personal commitments. And if it doesn't, then it's not right for you. And if, you can't get to it that day, or, for a week, or, I've even put my business on hold for the last 2.5 years because I've been taking on another role at work. So I've been covering 2 roles. And that's why I've had to, be logging on in the evenings. We've recently just taken someone on, so I feel like I'm getting my work-life balance back, which is amazing. But yeah, don't put the pressure on yourself as well that you can't get it done, because you can, you're only human. You can only manage what you can manage. And if it's the right, thing that you've taken on, then it can wait, and it will wait. But also be looking after yourself. Do your exercise, start the day right. I used to get up and do the 6:20 workout in the morning, but with Emily and her special needs, she needs me, there, and she's very demanding, and with being puffed, from the workout, I can't be dealing with that as well. And I used to take it out on her, and that wasn't fair. So yeah, I'd love to do the workout first thing in the morning, but I know that is the best start to the day. And then I'd have my shake, but so that's, sometimes I wouldn't eat till lunchtime, or I'd just have a piece of toast at 9:30 when I got to work. But with these shakes, it's a whole meal, and it's giving me all the nutrients, macronutrients, that I need to stay focused, to release the blood sugars slowly, so there's no peaks or dips. And yeah, it just taking care of yourself, doing something for you that you feel passionate and inspired by, gives you that a huge amount of positivity in your life.
And surely your children notice, right? Your children must benefit from this, even though mum is doing it for her. Your children surely must benefit from this.
From me doing the sideline business?
From you just being a healthier version and happier version of yourself.
I'll go to the park, and you see some parents sitting there on the park bench looking at their phones, and yes, I'm one of those parents because of Emily that I sort of have to be more involved, but I also want to. I want to be going down the slide with them on my lap, or on the swing and pushing them, and because it's all about them, isn't it? And if you take care of yourself, then you're a better version, for them to model off, and then to help them be their the best version of themselves when they're older.
Yeah, exactly. This is so important. My eldest says to me as well that she wants to work with me when she's older, and she's like, I've told the school council we should have brown bread at school, we shouldn't have white bread because that's not good for you, and they learn by watching you, don't they? And they see what's okay and what's not okay.
Yeah, I mean, totally. The other day Natalie was eating her vegetables first, and I was like, you do this? She said, because they're the best thing for me. Or I say, Emily wants chocolate and snacks, wants to graze all the time. And then I'll say to Natalie, what do you want? And she said, a piece of fruit.
Amazing.
That's good for me. Yeah. So yeah, it is sort of educating them, and letting them see, what you do, and hopefully, that rubs off.
Yeah, and letting them also see that it's not selfish to look after yourself,
exactly.
And that you deserve to feel good. I think so many people put this off, and I certainly was one of them, put off doing anything for them because it feels selfish, and it feels like I need to look after my kids first. But I remember my midwife way back when, and I did say we were going to wrap up, didn't I? But she said to me, you're not looking after yourself. And I was like, well, how am I supposed to look after myself? I've got a new baby. And she said, well, how are you supposed to look after that baby if you don't look after you?
Yeah,
and it stuck with me. It took me a few years before I got my nutrition and my fitness on track, but it stuck with me, that what she said, and now I see that my children understand. I mean, one is slightly more compliant when it comes to eating a veggies first than the other, but I see that they understand that these are the really good things for us, and they try to sort of count how many colors they can eat and all of these things. And our children, I think they need to also see that, because I think it's so often the mum, we kind of put ourselves last on this never-ending to-do list. We never get to ourselves. And for them to see, especially as girls, I suppose, that mummy can put herself first sometimes, and that look how how good she's feeling, how well she's looking. Yeah,
it's
no,
like
I think
that
it's
saying,
amazing.
you know, how can you pour from an empty cup?
Yeah,
You can't.
no,
You know, you need to top your energy levels up, you need to top your health up, you need to top your exercise up,
yeah,
in order to, you know, be a better mum or a better person.
exactly.
And yeah, it is all about, yeah, coaching and guiding them, isn't it?
Exactly. I think you're doing such an amazing job, and it's so inspiring to look at you. And I think that bikini body
I'm
has
just
happened,
me
hasn't it?
though. Do you know what? And what I do is, you know, it's just I had to do it. Like you said, you know, it's not being selfish. And I was giving, you know, I was putting 110% into Emily when she was from a baby, you know, up until 6 or whatever. So it's only the last few years that I've really been able to just sort of focus on myself. But I wish I did it earlier, because then who knows, you know, how I would have reacted to certain situations. I may not have been so frustrated, or you know, I would have had the more energy. And yeah, it's just, I know there's no good time, and you always say, I'll get round to that, and, you know, start looking after myself when I'm not so busy, but it will help in your busy lifestyle.
And we're always going to be busy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly. No, what better time to start than now?
yeah.
If anyone wants to see your inspiring journey, are you on Instagram? Are you on Facebook? Where's the best place to sort of get inspired by
I
you?
am on Facebook and on Insta.
Yeah.
Sarah.Hunt79 on Insta, and then Sarah Hunt on Facebook.
Fab. I'll put that in the show notes, your Instagram, if anyone wants to see and follow you, because I think it's inspiring. And I think this show is all about also sharing our stories so that people can feel inspired to go, actually, I recognize myself in her story. I've got a hard time. I'm a single parent or a double parent, or I've got a child that needs me a bit extra. I wonder.
Yeah, but I don't want to proclaim myself as, you know, inspirational, because, you know, like you do these podcasts, and you know, you're taking on extra, you know, you've got into more health and wellness, from, you know, your side business. Amy's, you know, done reflexology. Like, I don't know, I just feel like normal, and there's nothing really that fantastic. I just have to do what I have to do. Yeah. But I think that is sort of what if there is anyone out there just that's sort of got challenges, and that is busy, and, you know, just is looking for something just a little bit more, just to make life a little bit more exciting, and, you know, a bit more positive, something to look forward to, then, you know, that's all I can, you know, sort of help people with. And then there's that word, inspire them.
I think it's okay to say that you're inspiring. That's certainly how I feel after looking at everything you do, and I think, gosh, if I had even...
Yeah, but we're all busy, babe. Everyone's busy. You know, people have 3, 5 kids. I've just got 2.
Yeah.
You know, everyone works full time, or has, you know, sort of a full day. But it's just doing what you can, and looking for, you know, that thing that will work and fit alongside your busy lifestyle.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I think that's the key here. Listen, thank you so much. I know you're super busy. This is your lunch break, isn't it?
It is my lunch break, yeah.
Thanks for talking to me instead of eating. You should probably eat a little bit now.
That's all right. I'll just get back on and work and eat at the same time.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing your story. I think, yeah, say what you want, but I think it's inspiring, and I think it's all about. I've had other people on who are sharing their stories about what they've experienced, and I always get messages from people going, well, this hits home because I've experienced X, Y, Z. And I think if we all can, or some of us can, be a bit more open about what we're going through, then it becomes more acceptable and nice, you know, to talk more openly about how we're feeling, and when we're more open with each other, we can create more positive change. So thank you so much, 100%. Sarah, for
no, thank you for having me, Mary. It's been fantastic.
Lovely to speak to you, and yeah, go back to your work now.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
See you soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. I am passionate about helping mums get their energy back through simple nutritional changes, because we know that if mummy is happy, the family is happy. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness, or visit my website smallstepstowellness.info. Speak to you soon.